So the HMO sector, which is under the whole social housing sector, what's happening with that right now in terms of lettings?
Well, everybody wants a HMO. The only scary thing is, does everybody know how to run a HMO? And everything that goes with
I
it.
mean, I've previously had property expert on here, and we defined the HMO. But I think since I had him on, I think the definition has slightly changed. And I speak from an insurance perspective, because we're seeing changes in the risks that we are insuring and the type of HMOs. So currently, with the social housing aspect bolted on, what is a current HMO?
A current HMO, obviously house of multiple occupation, and the majority of them are through social housing, all sort of high risk tenants. Very few, I would say. I mean, so many come through saying, oh, we're going to deal with sort of looking after the elderly and independent living, but a few months down the line, it's all the ex-offenders and high-risk tenants.
So, as a landlord, you give your property to a company on a 3-year or a 5-year lease, and they in turn guarantee your rent for that period, and then basically it's down to them who they place into that property. Now, from an insurance perspective for ourselves, it's a nightmare, because we need to know who the end tenant is. And as you quite rightly say, at the time the company takes on the property on a 3-year deal, they may have a contract for homeless people, which is effectively a HMO. But if they lose that contract, or if things go south, they still have to pay the landlord the rent.
Absolutely.
Which means they will then go out and find whatever tenant type they can to keep that property occupied. Now, these may be mental health, these may be ex-offenders. Now, from an insurance perspective, we are seeing HMOs spring up in some really, really affluent areas. And these are causing dismay within the local neighbourhood and with the neighbours. So, what sort of trends are you seeing?
To be honest, the HMOs that we manage, we are very, very selective with the people that obviously are taking up our clients' properties. And I just think, you know what, it's pretty obvious, it's going to remain that way. Those are the type of clients that are going to need the housing. I just think that people need to be just a lot more careful. The management process needs to be
ethical,
on an A game.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, frequent checks, regular checks. The company needs to know that they cannot just get away with just bunging any old sort of person into the property.
Yes.
So yeah, definitely need to control it a lot better. So yeah.
Okay, and there's this term going around, a full repair lease, which means the company that the landlord gives the house to, they take it on a 3-year deal, and they guarantee to return the property in the state that they took the property. I think that takes a lot of the stress away from the landlord. So at that point, they're not really fussed about who lives in the property, because as far as they're concerned, they're going to get it back in the way that they gave it. But if that is in, for example, Sutton Coldfield or Solihull or certain areas where you know it's affluent, nobody wants this sort of.
I think there's an issue there in itself. I've got a local developer who put a lot of property up for rent for HMOs. Now, if you've got a property in Sutton Coldfield or Solihull, or even Hall Green, something there's a nice family location. One, you're devaluating the property and the area. So what this chap did was he was early on. This is going back more than about 3 years ago that he started the HMO aspect of it. What he realised when he came to recycle that property with the banks, what was happening is they were devaluating that property. So he made a quick format in the 3 years in terms of financial gain. But what the value of the property came out when he came to refinance it, it didn't stack up for him. So he got rid of all the HMO aspect of it. I think with the government changes now, the aspect of certain areas and industrial buildings that will be able to become into, or certain zones of properties that will be able to come into a HMO format, I think that will work better. I mean, these people need accommodation. We cannot,
are they looking to change that at the moment?
Sorry?
Are the government or the council looking to change that?
I think they're making it easier because obviously the B1 offices being able to be made into residential, subject to noise assessment, subject to sound assessment as well. So I think they are trying to ease that system up, because if you've got families living in that area and you've got ex-offenders, we've got to house those people. There's no doubt with that.
Yes.
They're part of society.
Yes, yes.
You know, the goodness of us should be that we accommodate those people and bring them back into life skills to assist. There are some very, very good housing associations that I've dealt with, which you're familiar with, and they are doing a very good job. But majority of landlords just want the property out there to get their financial gain, and the companies that are running them to a very, very bad state. So the people living in them who are already ex-offenders or got some kind of format criminal offence, they can't go out get a job. What will happen is it will deteriorate the area and the local community.
Okay.
So now what is about to happen, the CQC are about to step in. I feel there's going to be a huge change in the system.
There was talk of regulation in this sector before COVID, wasn't there?
Yes. That's what will be brought in, I feel. It'll be much strongly regulated. Anybody who's not following the book will be closed off. And I think that needs to be put into the system, so it cleans the communities up for us. Because you've got good and bad apples throughout, in every area, in every community. Yeah. Doesn't mean that someone in Solihull can't cater for somebody like that. It's a must.
Yeah, I think the problem that we've got as well is the country is in financial difficulty at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And for landlords, these companies are paying really good money.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a catch-22 situation. They've got to look at their own sort of finances as well.
Yes, definitely.
It's a lot easier for them to just sit back for those 3 to 5 years and not have to deal with it. Exactly. Yeah. So, you know, they're going to be taking those opportunities up at the end of the day, rather than having a tenant furloughed, not being able to pay the rent, etc., 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 going through court evictions. You know, it's easier.
And then you have the maintenance.
Absolutely,
you know,
exactly.
I've got a leak, I've got this, I've got that. So, So, I've also come across where the landlord hasn't actually got a HMO license. The property's not a HMO, but they give the property to a company who operate it under their HMO license. How does that work?
I think the main aspect of that, for what I've seen, is they've got the license to run it as a HMO.
Okay.
So they take over the property.
Is that provided that the property meets the regulations for
of course,
HMO?
I mean, you've got to have your fire precautions, you've got to have your building regulations for that aspect, fire alarm system, FD30 doors.